Good morning, Outreach. Welcome to the show that is currently grand thefting all of the autos. Today we are going to discuss the most recent patch and how it affects the metagame, along with some impressions regarding the Orion. Let's start by introducing today's cast.
Hey, Maverick here.
This is
Again.
Kishar with a new microphone. I hope I sound better now.
This is Petra, and I'm back. Yes.
Welcome back, Petra. And I'm Avalon, in-game as Avalon Guard. So, the Asta Devs answers got delayed for this week. Now, the only reason why we know this is because of a Twitter post from Brian Ekman. Knowing that they're trying to go for kind of a regular schedule on this thing, I really kind of wish that this was something that was a bit more front and center, and I just kind of ran into it at a side glance sort of deal. It wasn't very visible. So I just hope that in the future, if something like this happens, people can see it and that we know what's going on.
My big concern with that is I saw it, and Brian did it on his Twitter. Like, that's something that if you're going to do it on Twitter, be like, all right, it's going up on the official MechWarrior Twitter.
Yeah, bingo.
Like, if you want to make that the default means of communication, and because Garth runs that Twitter, that's cool. But like, I saw that while we were unpacking stuff, and I was just kind of like, wait, what? Why is Brian posting this?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's such a big deal, really. I mean, they have the launch event next week, and as he says, there's lots to prepare, and the community, they get outraged about pretty much anything. So
the delay is not a problem. I totally understand the delay, but the communication thing is something that has been an ongoing issue that they've said over and over, like, we need to fix this, we need to communicate better. And the player base said, hey, you need to communicate better. And then we get these weird little breakdowns.
Yeah, it's, hey, let's communicate better and be more open about things. So we're going to post on the creative lead's personal Twitter feed that we delayed Acids. And not a quick news post on the front page or something like that. They're like, that really is front page material. So I don't know. It runs antithetical to their, like Maverick said, they want to be more transparent with the community, and this is a good step to have that not happen.
Yeah.
But they had, let's see, what was this dated? It was a forum post. Welcome to Launch MechWarrior. So 17th, on the 17th, on Tuesday. It's basically kind of just reiterating about how awesome the game is and that it's launched, which is all well and good, The only really useful information I found in that post is Island Metropolis is the next map due out in October, and Moonbase due out in December.
I'm really looking forward to new maps. I always love it. I just wish they were more and faster.
Agreed. I mean, honest to God, like they make really good maps. I just kind of wish they would keep certain things in mind. Like with Island Metropolis, we've seen the satellite overview and we've seen now a video preview. I suppose it should be kind of a disclaimer here. It appears that it's kind of a work in progress build that's shown in the video. I mean, the water's like blood red.
The video is definitely not an official PGI video as far as it looks.
Yeah, it looks pretty much like a leak. Who knows how they got their hands on it, but it doesn't seem to be officially endorsed by PGI. And allegedly threads are getting deleted about it, which I suppose I can understand. Yeah. I think someone must have broken an NDA there and released that without consent.
Yeah, that's no good. But honestly, there's nothing that could help PGI more right now than information about upcoming content, quite frankly.
Yeah, to be honest, it looks pretty good. I mean, it's you can see that it's still a work in progress, but it looks pretty promising. It's a huge city map with a pretty awesome train tunnel and Lots of
Choo
varied
choo.
terrain. Exactly. I'm
Uh,
looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to see how that comes together. Maybe we'll see another
Yeah.
expose about how they make their maps. Who knows?
I really like the industrial area. Like there's a lot of upper areas you can be on and ramps and for jump jetters as we saw, what the guy was running around in what Jenner F jump
Yeah.
jetting around. It looked like a lot of fun for having multiple levels and everything. It looks pretty cool. Also the trees are really neat.
Yep.
I
It will
guess.
also make
Oh,
long-range combat harder, I think, and make positioning and ambushes more important. So it looks promising.
so you mean tactical movement and thinking and planning might be important?
No.
That's, I think it might be.
I'm so shocked. I
Not
don't.
on the current game modes, but the new attack and defend mode that is supposedly in development.
Do you have more information about that?
I figured you guys saw it because it was on Ekman's Twitter like right before that
Actually,
post.
I did actually, so
I
Oh,
enlighten
believe
us.
yes,
that
sorry,
kind of
I thought that was our
respectful.
notes.
That is not in our notes because I was not made aware of it. I believe this is a perfect example of the whole communication thing we were just talking about.
Yes. So here, there is attack defend mode. It's going through internal testing right now. No ETA on public test, but is a dedicated attack defend.
Okay, so
Okay.
what that says to me is that it's going to be either an alternating game type or a best 2 out of 3 sort of deal.
Best. I would love to see just some sort of, you drop against the same people one time you're attacking, one time you're defending. Have at it.
And then go by points or whatever.
No, not even anything. Just treat it as 2 matches, but you just have to do an attack and a defend.
Yeah, sure. No, this map would actually be perfect for that, quite honestly. With Assault and Conquest, this map suffers the same problem that Alpine does, and that is there's one good way to go.
Tunnel?
But tunnel. Well, yeah. I mean, it's just straight up the middle, the shortest point to combat.
Flowchart.
Right now, with no limit to what mechs can be dropped or no balancing as far as tonnage is concerned, on that map, I could see light mechs just winning every time. If you have 4 light mechs and the enemy has none, you've just won. But that is with Assault and Conquest as they are right now. So this attack and defend mode, if this comes out sometime soon, maybe they'll surprise us with it in October. Hint, hint.
Maybe? We'll see. I mean, they've got a lot scheduled for the PTR. We should see in the next week or two UI 2.0 on the PTR if they stick to the timeline they laid out at PAX. And with that's going to come all like the community warfare stuff, and it sounds like with the community warfare, like, Brian loves using his pyramid analogy where, they've UI 2.0 is the base and they can keep adding on steps and steps after that. So I think what'll happen is once 2.0 comes out, we'll actually see a lot faster development of the other community warfare stuff because, they'll actually have the main chunk to build off of. So even if it's just small things at first, like here's the map of controlled sectors and, now you can make clans and, there's a clan bank account or something, or not clans, I apologize. Oh dear God, do not kill me, internet. Merc units. Now you can make merc units. Here's your shared merc unit funds, etc., etc. Like, I think what we'll see is an increased development pace once UI 2.0 is in, because they'll actually have, a unified system for everything to tie into, which they definitely don't right now.
For many of the things that they might be implementing now, that maybe the backend work is finished. And again, this is of course speculation. And maybe that they're just not feeling it worth to expend the resources to implement a version of it in the current UI when it's going to be overhauled anyway and replaced. So that might be why we have the impression that there is not much going on.
I mean, I'm going to be honest, like, as far as visible stuff, it does look like nothing's going on. I know they're working as hard as they can over there in their offices, but we don't know that. We have no information coming out. So, I just, honestly, as a player, I need to see more stuff happening. I need more content, more transparency, that sort of stuff. So I'm going to basically side with Mav and say, like, I need that UI 2.0 to drop, and then hopefully that will speed things up for him.
I think it will. Like getting that structure down is such a huge part of everything that once you have the unified system, like adding on modules should be faster. Should in a very large set of quotation marks.
Well, we will see.
And we will report.
Mm-hmm. Keep your eyes on OBN. So let's see. So the launch patch on Tuesday was, by many standards of measurement, quite tiny. But they've said that launch was going to be pretty much a milestone, a celebratory thing, and less of a here's the rest of the game sort of deal.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's par for the course in live development, and that's they've said as much.
I mean, yeah, it's fine. Like I said, all I just want is more stuff. So long as they don't break the old stuff, I think it's progress, I guess.
Yep.
So first major thing, though, is that on Tuesday, the Orions were available for C-bills.
Finally.
Finally. And Kishar, I know you've been playing a bunch with them, and I've spent some time in a VA and a protector. What's your overall thoughts?
Well, I'm still saving up to buy more than the Orion K, the Oink, as we lovingly call it. I've really struggled to get it to work. It's difficult because it requires a different mindset, I think. At least that's my conclusion for now. Whereas in other mechs, it's easy to just put in, to basically boat weapons, to put in lots of ballistics, even if it's like AC5s and AC2s or stuff like that. You don't really have that option in the Orion if you want to make the most use of what the mech has to offer. So to use it, basically you have to go all Swiss Army knife on it, and you have to put a bit of everything on it, and then you actually have to try and coordinate all those different weapons and use them to maximum effect to make it work, which I think is harder than with other mechs where you maybe have only 2 weapon groups. Right now on my Oink, I'm using 4 different weapon groups, which is the only mech that I have 4 on, and it's more difficult, but it's actually starting to work out. What are your impressions, Avalon?
I have a giant center torso, are my impressions. But
yeah, that too.
Honestly, it's a mech that is going to shine, I think, when tonnage limits or restrictions or matching or whatever shows up. Because it's 75 tons, and it has generous hard points, not unlike the Atlas. I mean, you compare the hard points between the variants, and it looks like an Atlas on paper. It's the problem is, like I said, the giant center torso, and the fact that it's 75 tons in an environment where, it's trying to fulfill a role that is currently occupied by the epitome of that role. So, like, I guess what I'm saying is, why would you drop in an Orion, besides the fact that it's awesome? It looks awesome. I love piloting my Orions. Why would you drop in an Orion when you could jump into your DDC instead?
Well, it's still a lot faster, but it also can tank as well.
Yeah.
And it has no ECM, which is, of course, a downside.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing that really that I really like about the Orion is that all the variants seem fairly different.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just look at your Orion K. I picked up the VA first off. Your K has 4 energy, 2 missile, 2 ballistic?
One ballistic.
1 ballistic, okay. And then the VA has 4 missile, 2 energy, 1 ballistic. And I mean, those are two.
And the missile hardpoints of the VA are all in the arms, and the Ks are all in the torso, for example. And then there's the M that has 2 energy hardpoints in one arm, 1 in the other arm, and 3 missile hardpoints all over the place. I think one of them is an arc hardpoint, though, so only 1 tube.
Sad.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're looking for a variety in a chassis, and you're not exactly nitpicky about, the general quirks about a mech, the Orion is not the worst pick you could make. It's just, it's not in a great spot. I'd like to see them kind of shrink the CT hitbox a bit, but that's really my only major issue with it. I mean, I've put so many different fits on the Orions that would have worked just fine if I hadn't gotten shot through.
Isn't that true of every build, though?
Yeah, I suppose.
But yeah, maybe we'll see some adjustments there. I mean, they did it with the Kentaro, but I hadn't tried the Kentaro when they came out, so I'm not sure how this compares, but it sets a precedent. So maybe we'll see some adjustments there.
So, moving on with our patch notes. Applejack custom pattern. Has anyone seen that in game?
I have not.
If I haven't noticed it standing out like other patterns.
That's because it kind of doesn't. It's kind of a plain pattern that has some, I think there's some kind of decorations at the feet, sort of. It's almost like they took Sarah's Jenner, that camo scheme on that, and then took off all the stickers and whatnot that made it awesome, and gave it kind of a weird color scheme, and that's the new custom pattern.
Yeah, it seems a bit like, what's it called? The Buccaneer, but with much less funny scribbles on it. Yeah, there's a screenshot in chat if you're listening live.
So, yeah. I feel like this is turning into what Avalon wants to see in game cast, but I would like to see more really unique custom patterns, and the last two have not been very impressive.
I don't know. I like this on the dragon.
You don't happen to be looking at a picture of Damoon's dragon, do you?
I might be. I might be biased.
So I don't know. I've seen a lot of really creative stuff happen with paint schemes and colors and people getting all sorts of artsy. So I don't know. One of these days, maybe I'll see a color scheme that works with it. But just I haven't been impressed. No, there's one thing. Oh, go ahead, Kishore.
I think it's a bit confusing that it's a premium pattern and not a normal camo pattern, because I don't think it offers really anything that's like worth the extra MC for it.
I believe,
which may be why we're not seeing that many of them.
I believe the Applejack colors have some unique, like, what words am I looking for? There's some weird kind of undercolor stuff to it. Look at my words go.
Yeah, on Reddit, someone posted something comparing the two in the same like drab green, and the Applejack definitely has more shininess to it.
Pearlescent.
Yeah, it's the camo though, right? It's not the colors itself.
That
Correct.
I don't know.
I think so.
Okay, correct.
It's the base material underneath. Basically, this was talked about in a while ago. When they do camo patterns, they apply them as materials. That's why the golden boy has its own little shine and whatnot. It's not a specific camo pattern, or it's not the colors, it's the pattern underneath. They dictate that it renders differently, and then they apply the colors on top of it.
So that might explain why on the protector, on the upper arms, those stars there are reflective, but nowhere else.
Yes.
Yep,
Basically, that
pretty much.
area would probably be deemed in the CryEngine as shiny or whatever.
I see. That makes sense.
I don't care how many shiny stars you put on that back, it will not look good.
Petra, you haven't
You are
seen
so
mine.
biased.
You haven't seen mine.
I want to see it. Prove me wrong.
I plan to.
Okay.
So, first time ever in this patch, we have 4 champion trial mechs. This is good. I was all sorts of excited when I saw this. I fired off a text to my brother who tried playing the game before, but, trial mechs tend to be standard variants that aren't really that great. I'm like, hey, you should try now.
It's almost like PGI doesn't hate its new players anymore.
It's also
Come on,
good
that's
for
cynical.
it's also good for the lunch period,
Yeah. So I guess we're just going to have to wait and see if they keep up with this. I think they really should. It won't be too hard to, community source. What they should do is maybe every 2 weeks hold a community build thing like they did before with the original Dragon 5NC champion and see what results of it.
Yeah, I thought that was a fun community building thing too.
I mean, anything that you directly involve the community, it's either it's going to end up good, or you just pretend it never happened if the community goes into revolt, and you're at status quo.
Well, what else was in this patch then?
Elo matchmaking tweaks.
Yeah, we have tightened weight and elo parameters for matchmaking now. Have you guys noticed any improvement in your matches in the past week?
Yes and no. Kashar, we were playing, was it Thursday night, I think? Or Friday night?
Time flies and the days just kind of flow into each other.
There was we played for a while, and we did not do very well at all. There were some serious elo imbalances. The weight was fine. There were very new people being placed in games against people who knew what they were doing. It was very visible and very clear. So, I mean, whatever tweaks have been made, I don't know if they were big enough tweaks. But, I mean, today I played a couple of hours and found it to be pretty even. And in fact, I would say we won more often than we lost. So, go figure.
Yeah, actually, I did a bit of an experiment. I mean, it turned out that I got results even though I didn't plan it as an experiment. I usually play at night with you guys, you know this, and today I played during the day, which is probably late night American time. And so I mostly must have played with European people or Asian people. And it was a completely different kind of experience for me. I did some solo drops, I did some small group drops, and there were awesome fights there. It was just completely balanced. It was I had a brawl that ended 11-12, and some others that were not as close, but still could have gone either way. That was pretty awesome. I was impressed. I don't know if this is maybe just a function of the time zone or the player population and when the usual like high times are when lots of people play.
Well, you could get all deep and say that it's probably something to do with the mentality of players in different regions of the world. But I think
No,
it's.
no, let's not go there.
But I've noticed that too. I mean, depending on what time of the day you play, if I have a day off and I jump on at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, there's a really good chance I'm going to do okay and I'm going to enjoy my games. And then I jump on at 7 p.m. Friday night or whatever. I might as well just drink myself into a silly stupor and attempt to pilot the mech because I'm probably going to have about the same result. So
That's weird.
I don't. I'm not even going to begin to attempt to really understand it. But I mean, it is anecdotal, and if you're in the right mood for it or whatever.
It's definitely anecdotal. But on that front, we have a bit of a data mining effort going on the forum, spearheaded by our own resident poet, The Moon Rules.
He is a wordsmith. He is a number magician. Is there anything he can't do?
I don't think so. I can't think of anything.
So,
Well, anyways, what we're trying to do is just take a screenshot of all of the scoreboards, all of the end of round screens, and just try to collect data about the matchmaker. It's probably biased by the ELO groups that we're in and stuff, but it will at least give us an overview of what the weight imbalances are like. And we're trying to see if there are maybe some interesting correlations. For example, are the winning teams always the ones with more tonnage or the ones with more Atlas DDCs, or what happens if you have a light lens in there, stuff like that. It's we're still in the data collecting phase, but preliminary results are interesting.
interesting how so.
Let me actually look it up.
Because I'm actually looking at the numbers right now, and one thing I'm noticing is pretty equal, actually. Although I am seeing a lot of really wild swings. I'm particularly fond of this one match. From what I can tell, it looks like the winning team was 170 tons lighter than the losing team.
I'm still looking for the numbers right now.
Teamwork is OP.
Definitely.
I mean, my big thing with this is I would really like to be able to tell when there is a pre-made group on the opposite side.
You mean like at the do you want to see it before the match begins or after the match is over?
Square screen.
Okay, so there's a really easy way to do that, and they should just because I know they group groups back together at the end,
Yes.
so they should just have like a colored bar to just kind of tie them all together. I've seen many games and systems do that.
Yeah, no, there should be something at the end so you can be like, we got rolled, but look, there was 3 pre-mades on the other team. Okay, whatever. That's fine.
Yeah.
That would make a lot of losses a lot less frustrating if you knew that, all right, I'm dropping by myself. There's nothing I could do about that.
Yeah. I mean, there are times where you look at the scoreboard and you're not sure, there were 3 teams working together or not because, you can't help but highly doubt that 12 random pubs executed that perfect 12-man push through the Frozen City cave or whatever. No, I think that's fair.
You should have seen our charge earlier.
Oh, that was amazing.
That was the thing of beauty.
Oh.
We were running angry pogo sticks, and who was it? Kay was in a Jenner or something and poked ahead, and he engaged like 3 ravens, and they did not get the hint that the Jenner was not running away from them, that there was backup coming. 3 salvos, 3 dead ravens come out of the cave. There was a cataphract there. Cataphract's dead in a round of salvos. It was a thing of beauty. I really like the new HSR.
Yep. Now all they have to do is
really like the new HSR.
yeah, it's really improved. They just need to tighten it up just a little bit for missiles, and I think we'll be good to go.
Yes.
I just found the the data I was looking for. If I can go back to that for a second.
Oh, yeah.
So basically, it's telling us that the being outweighed is not necessarily a reason or a correlation from the little data that we've gathered so far with winning or losing. And at least if there was a four-man group on our side, I think 53% of the time is what Mittens has calculated. The winners had more assault max, and this is interesting, 92% of the time they had more assaults and heavies. In the games where the winners had a total of less tonnage than the losers, they only had more assaults than the other team a quarter of the time, and only half of the time, so that's not significant at all, they had more assaults and heavies. All in all, it seems that the team that brings more assault and heavy max is the team that is more likely to win. So it kind of reiterates what we were thinking anyway.
Right. Is that mediums don't really have a great place in the game because you need to carry more guns or the biggest engine in the smallest mech possible. Basically.
Maybe, yeah. As I said, we're still collecting more data.
Yeah, that is some scary figures though. Even in the super small sample size, which is what's that at like?
I think it was only like 60 matches or so.
Yeah, that's not a lot. It would be interesting to talk to Mittens and see if maybe when he gets home tonight later, if he can do it, because I know we're up to like 120 or 140 matches now submitted.
Oh god.
Yeah. Sadly, Mittens has excused himself because he's bar crawling today.
Lucky man.
How dare he?
Really.
Anyway, but those are some staggering percentages.
Well, it's solidly showing that if you want to win, you gotta bring more firepower, and that's not what this game was going towards, I thought.
Well, I don't think you can say that it's solidly showing that yet because, well, we don't have enough data yet. You can't really draw any conclusions from that. At least it would not be sound.
You have enough data to form a hypothesis.
That we do, yes.
So, yeah, if there's ends up being someone who is going to willingly trawl through all that data and figure it out, we will kind of learn. That might be worth a decent-sized feature on OBN, do you think?
Definitely will.
Yeah.
As I'm getting depressed reading it, though.
Yeah. So, stepping forward here, there's a line in the patch notes that kind of made me laugh here. This is an exact quote. Third person is disabled in the 12 players pre-made group matches, you lucky competitive warriors. End quote.
Yeah.
So, Snark?
Maybe. I mean, no, I'm not touching that.
This can only end in tears.
Yeah, I understand why they did it, but we've gone over this before. I don't even bother with third-person view in combat. I know other people don't bother. So let's leave that at that.
Actually, I think the interesting thing with that is this was not written by Garth this week. With this patch, Matt Newman did the notes.
I believe Matt Newman is the guy who does it normally. Am I incorrect?
I know
Garth
has definitely done a couple. I would have to go back and check, but I know. Okay, let's put it this way. I know there have been notes where they have gone unsigned, so I assumed that Garth collected them because he said, "I'm collecting all the patch notes," and we'll put the post up.
Right. Maybe Garth's too busy trying to wrangle up a decent open bar for the launch event.
That's kind of what I figured. He's otherwise occupied.
Yes,
That is an
that's how much
important
vodka.
calling.
Yes, that's how much vodka we want. Yeah, no, you have no idea what kind of people are going to be here. They're mech warriors, man. Don't you understand? Anyway.
I'm just bummed. I just realized that I'm going to be in San Francisco for work next week. Or not this week, but the week after, which is 1 week too late for the launch event. Darn.
Oh,
So close.
And yet so far.
well, you're at least on the same coast. That's only a what kind of a drive would that be?
You don't do the drive. That's like a 2-hour flight.
It's just that it's on a
Okay.
Thursday.
Just to go back for a minute here, I'm just looking through the old patch notes, and it seems that Garth is not the one who writes the introduction to them. That's usually signed with Matt Newman's name. So not the patch notes themselves, but like the intro part where they kind of highlight some of the changes or the big ones. It is keeping in tone with the tone of that intro, though.
So as far as actual number changes now in this patch, they reduced the AC2 heat scale multiplier, thank God, because it was ridiculous. But honestly, the fact that they added a heat scale multiplier to AC2s I thought was ridiculous to begin with.
Yeah.
It was kinda dumb.
I don't know, it was a weapon whose downside is that each projectile does 2 damage. 2 whole
Yeah, but they
damage.
were pretty brutal when people were boating them.
Yeah, but everything is kind of brutal when you boat them.
That's true.
Well, it is kind of consistent. I mean, they did the same to large lasers, and they didn't really need it because they weren't. I mean, they were being boated, but it was not as bad as the Pinpoint Alpha. But in retrospect, I think the whole changes, the whole Ghost Heat introduction and the changes to boating, they seem to try to push the gameplay into a direction of more varied mech loadouts, and I think in that regard it's working. And this goes back to what I said earlier about the Orion, that I think that is actually a mech that exemplifies the way PGI think that this, or may think that the game should be played. Like, not with lots of the same type of weapons per mech, but lots of different weapons for different engagement situations.
Yeah, that's true. I understand that the whole ghosty situation was brought in to curb high alpha damage, not necessarily high precision damage. I miss my AC2 Jaeger.
I miss the quadrupole so much.
I still don't agree with the quadrupole being nerfed. It was not too good.
No, it wasn't. Oh well.
I would actually be happy
I
with
will
3.
always remember it fondly.
Yeah, 3 I think is a bit more comfortable. The deal with large lasers is I know we've said it a million times, they're beam weapons, they're damage over time weapons. It's rather difficult to put every point of damage from those weapons on the exact same panel on the target.
Yeah.
It's true, yeah.
I
At
mean,
least it
I would
requires
rather go.
a different sort of skill or a different skill set than the projectile weapons like PPCs or autocans or Gauss.
I mean, I think it's kind of telling that I would rather go like with my jumping jack, my little pogo stick blackjack with AC20 than I would with a quadrupole right now. Like, they both do the same thing about as equally well.
I've turned to just using, instead of 4 large lasers, using 2 large lasers and 4 medium lasers on the mechs that support it. It's even more damage, and you can reach out and touch stuff as far away.
Actually,
But
speaking of that, sorry, did not
yeah,
mean to cut you off. I actually saw a cool
that's right.
4SP build that was a little different. Somebody was running 2 large, 2 medium, and 2 LRM5s in a 4SP on Alpine and was doing really well with it. I don't know if it was just, he was that good or what, but
He might have lucked out on map choice because that's a lot of heat. I mean, think about it. LRM5s are roughly the same tonnage as your SRM4s or 6s, depending on what you run in the 4SP. But those large lasers are 5 tons apiece. I would be curious to see that build, honestly. But,
yeah, it was. I forgot about it till now. I want to go back and try and recreate it because it was a little different, and I like different.
Yeah, I've started actually getting a new appreciation for LRMs. I hardly used them before whatever that may be, but I think they work really well if you use them as a supplemental weapon, as like a steady stream of damage that doesn't require much attention and much aiming skill, but that still rains upon the enemy, and more importantly, that gives them the warning incoming missiles that often enough makes them retreat and get back into cover, which lets you sort of crowd control the enemy team a bit.
yeah, exactly. Or it does what my LRM5 Orion did earlier and attracts the attention of the target you're shooting at, who completely ignores the rest of your team because constant LRM5s are really annoying.
It's psychological warfare, plain and simple. And of course, you cause a bit of screen shake.
Yeah, LRMs are a fantastic tool.
I've been finding lately if I have an extra missile slot, I don't mind chucking an LRM-10 or LRM-15 and just as I'm advancing on a target or not really in a good position, just lob a salvo, see what it gets done. So it looks like they dealt with yet another flavor of the month weapon. UAC-5, the cooldown was changed to 1.5 seconds, which is the exact same as the AC-5, and the jam rate was brought up to 20%, which was up from the 15% rate that brought it up to kind of the flavor of the month status, but down from the original rate of 25%. That worked some magic. I'm no longer
It
facing
did indeed.
8, UAC 5 mechs a match, so I say success.
I actually don't think I saw a UAC mech today when we were playing.
Oh, I saw a
I
few.
didn't either.
I piloted a few too. It's
So
I think it's interesting because with the change to cooldown, the double tap is much more noticeable. It's not really like it's firing in a constant rhythm, but it's like dudum dudum. It's basically an AC5 with a double tap with a chance to jam, and I think that's how they should be, or at least how they're intended to be.
do you know
Um,
if the
yeah,
accidental double tap bug is still there, where it fires like
I
two
have no
completely
idea.
immediately?
Yeah, I've heard anecdotal either way.
I know it was
I think
around
they're
at least
still
two
really
matches
good
ago.
weapons, but they're much more in line now. You can still, if you have an Ilya Mermets with 2 or 3 Ultra AC5s, you can still face tank an Atlas and tear it apart before it can really hurt you, which is still awesome. But they're not as overpowered as they were last week or the week before that.
I'm sad that I missed the buff to my Ultra Cat. Oh well,
Well, it's still buff.
that's true.
They also changed flamers, and this is a bit odd, but I've seen more and more mechs actually using them to, well, varying effect, varying shades of bad.
Yeah, it's still not all that great, but quite frankly, I don't know if it really should be.
How so?
kind of trying to put my thoughts together here. It's a 1-ton weapon that increases heat on the target. That's really nasty. And I think what a lot of people forget is heat generated not by player action is a very rare thing in the game. There are some areas that have natural heat increases, but it's usually just a bump to that natural. Like if you cut your engine, you can see, depending on where you are, this crater is giving me plus 13% heat to start or whatever. So you're basically taking a mechanic that is normally player controlled and removing the control of that mechanic from the player and giving it to that player's opponent. They have to be extremely careful with that. Because otherwise you can end up getting into some kind of stun lock situation where you just have a light mech with, stacked with flamers, or a pair of light mechs with a flamer each, run up to a mech. Oh, he's useless.
Well, that's a bit of a problem. And I don't know if this is just a bug or something that's intentional. But I usually run, when I run energy boats, I have lots of double heatsinks on them, up to 19 sometimes. And I've had an enemy spider with machine guns and flamers point his flamers at me forever, and my heat just would not go up at all. Like, not even a smidge. So he wasn't actually overcoming the cooling that I had from my heatsinks. And that seems wrong somehow.
Yeah, I mean, I want flamers to have a spot. They have to take it slow. They have to be really careful with this one.
Well,
at least that's my opinion. I'm also the kind of guy who hates playing the rogues or the sneaky against those kinds of types in any sort of multiplayer arena combat or whatever. So take that as you will.
the sneaky characters that walk behind the enemy without being noticed and then shoot them in the face with a flamer.
I'm trying to hit you with my giant battle axe. You hit me in the back of the head with your tiny stick, and I can't move. Yeah, that ain't fair.
It is all the
I don't
fair.
think we're in danger of that happening, but yeah. I think they will need further tweaks, but it's a step in the right direction to increase the range at least. It's up to 90 meters now from previously 64. So the maximum range is at 180 meters, which is the same as small lasers and small pulse lasers now, which I think is the least it needed.
That is a hell of a flamethrower.
It's a multi-story war machine.
That's 300-something feet of fire shooting out of your gun. Look, I'm not decrying it. I think it's awesome. I'm just saying.
That's a lot of fire.
That is a lot of fire.
All right. Is there anything else significant in this patch? I think we've covered all the bases so far. Some fixes, of course, were in there.
Well, I'd like to actually just take a moment here. Petra, I know you've spent a lot of time away from game. Do you feel like the game has made any progress or feels better than it used to since your last major time with it?
Well, let me put it this way. When I started playing this morning, I was like, wait, there's 12 of us? Oh yeah. So I don't know if I'm the best person to ask. But I mean, I had a ton of fun, and I will say that I'm definitely rusty. But it's I think the HSR has been really awesome because I got back up to speed quicker than I would have if I had to learn how to lead mechs and all that nonsense. So seeing a lot of new mechs is cool. My phone is going off. That's also cool. But yeah, no, I think the game feels good. Not that I was ever a detractor in the beginning, but
yeah, I was just curious because I think you started getting involved with what we call real life actually a pretty decent time ago, and I was just curious because you might have missed like the real nerfing of PPCs and Gauss rifles and all that, and the meta shift was drastic. So I was just curious if you had any thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, we played for a while today and I didn't notice anything that was particularly like, oh my God, get that away from me. So that's really exciting. I missed the whole UAC 5 thing, so I guess that's good.
It wasn't as bad as the old precision meta, but walking around a corner and looking at 4 identically colored Ilium Muramets and then just dying, it was sad.
One thing I noticed is I didn't really see any SRMs today. Really. I don't think anyone was really running those, so that was weird.
Yeah, that's not actually shocking. There's HSR, the new tweaks to that for the lasers and the ballistics really help those, but missiles seem to not benefit so well from those. Or at least SRMs.
And they changed the flight path on those, right?
Yeah, I can't remember when they did that, but they're kind of shotgun style and a lot less wavy.
I can't argue with that.
No, you can't. What about you, Maverick? You have any thoughts?
This was the first I've played with the Gauss rifle since they changed it, and it's definitely not the brawling supplement to SRMs that it used to be. And I really need to sit down and play with it a lot, but I didn't have the time or opportunity to grind out matches, so I just dropped down to the blackjack. But it's different, and I think I know people have been using it to great effect while still brawling, so I don't want to say it's only a sniping weapon now, but for just starting out using it, it's very unintuitive. And for a quote-unquote long-range, high-speed weapon, I was not happy that I could not use it to take pot shots at jump jetting sniper builds on Frozen City.
Yeah, I could see that.
That was probably my big
kind of plan
big
ahead.
complaint about it is like where I ran the Gauss rifle before, it was my fire suppression weapon and it has been eliminated from that role. So I personally am displeased with it. I don't think necessarily it was a bad change overall, but it's something that I've got to figure out before I think I can comment any further, other than the fact that how I personally use the Gauss rifle in most of my builds is completely gone.
Yeah, it takes some real concentration and presence of mind because you're worrying about the weapon charge up instead of just firing and forgetting.
Yeah.
But I'd give
Yep.
it some time. I think.
And then you have to release it in time before it dissipates.
I don't know if any
Right.
amount of time will really be useful for me with like my Atlas in it because I rely so much on torso twisting to stay alive. Like I just don't think it's worth me running in that anymore.
Aw.
You could always put a shotgun in it.
I could. I
Yes.
mean, no, that just gets down to I have to relearn other timings then because like
Yeah.
the Gauss rifle used to line up so nicely with the SRMs in terms of cooldown and projectile speed. So I
Yep.
just got to get back and like I said, the main thing that I used it for, it does not do anymore. So I've got to figure it out now. And I think that's interesting because I was definitely not the intended audience for the nerf.
No, definitely not. I think it's been really put in its role as a sniper weapon now, and less a brawling weapon, because you can still brawl with it because it does not have a minimum range, but it requires more player skill.
I tried running dual AC5s in the Atlas, but that was a bit weird trying to sync them with the SRMs for that extra force multiplier. It did not work that well.
I think you have to rethink the Reaper concept. I
I
mean, not the
don't.
concept, but
No, the concept in general, I don't think really works on that platform anymore. I was actually really tempted to drop down to a 300 standard and go with an AC20 and triple SRM10s and 2 mediums if I could fit all that. I need to look at some stuff and figure it out, or even go Goss triple LRM10s, but and just be more of a fire support mech.
The world has turned upside down.
Yeah, I was about to
I
say.
know.
Did you just advocate LRMs at a DDC?
I did.
And a standard engine?
Well, it's standard if I do the AC20.
What is happening?
If I keep
Guys,
the
what is happening?
if I keep the Gauss, I will still keep my XL360.
I'm so confused right now.
Well, I figure if I drop down to a standard 300 with the LRMs, I will not wind up in front for once.
No, you'll still end up in front. It's like I don't even know you anymore.
I mean, I will still run, my Highlander all mini Reaper-ish, but I really think the Gauss change just killed that build on the DDC.
Yeah, I was at PAX. Caboodles and I had similar flights out, so we were sitting in the airport together, and he was checking it out, and it just looked, yeah, it's the exact same thing I said was the Reaper's dead now.
I has a sad.
That's right. I'm sure you'll find some other setup and then carve swaths through your enemy.
Dude, my freaking little pogo stick is so good.
AC20 on a blackjack, yeah?
Yeah, I don't think I had a match with less than 3 kills tonight when we were playing earlier.
Nice.
So, the HSR is so good.
Mediums are OP, nerf mediums.
Basically.
Indeed.
The small pulse lasers is what really makes it shine.
So wait, what's the build on that? Yeah, small pulse lasers and an
AC20, Max XL, 4 tons of ammo, and 2 small pulse, and 4 jump jets.
Okay.
And you run around at
Does seem angry.
84 kilometers per hour before speed tweak, I think. I don't think I've got speed tweak on it yet. And you just hop. You basically bunny hop to fuck with people's aim. And
Swear jar.
We did pretty good. We almost went an hour without it.
Yeah,
I know.
Sorry. But basically you bunny hop to throw off people's aim. You use your left gun, your left arm has nothing on it, so you do the Dragon Centurion trick of make it eat as much fire as possible.
So you put the AC20 in the right arm?
Yes.
I put it in the left arm to screw with people.
Oh. I am used to ballistics on the right side of my screen, so.
That's why I did it. It's because everybody's used to ballistics on the right side, so I put it on the left.
Well, I'll look into changing it.
Because it's such a massive change to the performance of the chassis, right?
I mean, it definitely changes how you turn and pilot it, depending on where the gun is, so yeah. But
so anyway, I believe, thanks for your inputs, Petra and Maverick. It's good to have you guys back in the open after all sorts of real life things going on.
yay! Jinx.
That was
Creepy.
a little.
But I believe
You're the same person.
Oh god, I hope not.
Oh, that's just mean. I believe that is it for today's show.
No, we have a poetry.
Oh, do we have a poetry?
Yes. But I'm not allowed to read it
You're
You
not.
are allowed to read
due to
it.
past performance issues.
Oh, I see it right there. Okay, so is this from Damoon?
Yes.
Such a good man. Should I read it, or does anyone else want to volunteer?
It's all you, man.
There once was a mech, the Orion, whose long wait had all of us dying. It finally dropped, or should I say flopped, and left the nostalgic guy. Man, I love how much snark you can load into such a small piece of text. It's good. I love it.
I think it's ironic that you read that. That's my favorite part.
Oh, the Orion-y.
Boo.
That's why
Oh,
you read it
boy.
in such a sad voice.
I'm sorry, puns are the purest form of humor.
Speaking of puns, the Moons just supplied us with another poem. It's a haiku, and it's about flamers and Gauss rifles.
Oh, this can only be good.
A flamer unleashed. Medics have to aloe Kate. Gauss rifle supplies. Did I pronounce that correctly?
I think
don't-
aloe, Kate.
Aloe Kate. Okay.
A
I should not
lowy
have read
Kate.
that. All right then. Thank you all for tuning in.
Yep, that is a great closer. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you guys next week. Same time, same place, same bat channel. Have a good day.